Today we're making a double pumpkin wreath. Stick around to the end because I made some changes and I want to show you exactly what I did to fix some mistakes that I made. So the colors I'm using for these pumpkins is going to be a peach and this turquoise. For the leaves, I'm going to use like this moss green, okay? If you have maybe a lime green or something like that, that will be perfectly fine. But I think these colors will work really well together for a fall pumpkin decor, okay? Now, I already cut this peach. I wasn't thinking. I don't know. I was doing all kinds of prep work, wasn't thinking, and cut the entire roll of peach before I started filming to show you. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you with orange because I only have one roll of the peach. Okay? This is very close. If you don't have peach, go ahead and use orange. I only used peach because they're saying for the year of 2024, when I am filming this video, they're saying peach and turquoise are two of the color trends for this year. So I'm just trying to stick with the trends. But just at the very beginning of the roll, it's going to be a little frayed right there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut off, I don't know, the first ½ inch, okay? And I'm going to stay within the lines of the poly burlap when I cut. And yes, I am using a wood burning tool, and this has a chisel tip on it, okay? I'm going to put that aside, okay? Now, I'm going to cut this just slightly over 10 inches, okay? Because this is a 10-inch roll of poly burlap, and I'm going to be fusing two of the sides together. So you kind of want it to be just slightly over the 10-inch mark, maybe 10.5, not quite, okay? And again, you're cutting it within the lines of the poly burlap. That helps to stop the fraying. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside. Actually, I take that back. So I'm going to do a second piece here because I'm going to do them two different ways. If you want to do it just one way, you're more than welcome. It's totally up to you. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside. So we have two pieces of, imagine this is peach and not orange, okay? I have the finished edge, that's the factory edge on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to bring my top left and bring it down. I'm doing this because I'm right-handed. If you are left-handed, you would bring the top right and bring it down so you can cut along here. I'm right-handed, I'm taking the top left, bringing it down. And I'm bringing it to where it's just above where this finished edge ends here, okay? Because when we make our petal, I don't want this to come out from behind. So, I have this lined up the best I can. And I'm going to go from that folded edge and right along that finished edge. And I'm going to fuse that with the poly burlap that is behind it. Okay, see how that's fused together? Okay, so when we make our petal, this finished edge is going to be on the right. So that's where that is, okay? So I'm going to set that aside. Now again, I have my finished edge on the top and the bottom. And instead of going with the top left, bringing it down, I'm going to go with the bottom left and bring it up. And again, if you are left-handed, go with the bottom right and bring it up. That way you can cut along this way. I'm going with the bottom left, bringing it up. Again, I'm going to keep this edge here just underneath where that finished edge is on top. Okay? And kind of get this aligned the best I can. And I'm going to go from the tip here and go down to the folded edge. Okay. And again, there you go. It's fused together. And if I flip that over, so the point is towards me, I have this finished edge on the left and that fused edge on the right, which is opposite of this one. Okay. So these are going to be the two petals that I'm going to use. And let's show you how I actually make the petals. Let me put this aside. Now, we're going to make the petals the exact same way. I'm going to, because I'm right-handed, again, I have that folded edge to my right. Okay, now I just go straight up from the point and scrunch. Then I scrunch from here, scrunch from here. And there you go. That is going to be our petal. Okay, I had to pull out a couple zip ties. So from here, I'm just going to zip tie these together. I'm just using 4-inch zip ties to do this. Okay. And this comes to 7 inches long from the zip tie to the tip. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing. Have that folded edge to my right. Go straight up from the tip and scrunch it together. And then we're going to scrunch and scrunch. Take the 4-inch zip tie. And there you go. And again, it's going to be just about 7 inches. The only difference is we have the finished edge on that side, finished edge on this side. And really, because we fused these together, that fused side, it does not look bad. So if you want to do them all one way, go ahead and do it that way. It's perfectly fine. I just like to do it where I have a finished edge on the outside of the pumpkin. So, but this is how we make the petals, and this is going to be the petals for the large pumpkin. So for the small pumpkin, I'm going to set these aside, and I am going to bring out my cutting board again. Okay, So this is what we're going to do with the turquoise. Okay, so again, how this is kind of frayed right there on the edge. Just those first couple of lines I'm going to take off. Okay. Clean this up. Okay, so instead of making this a 10 by 10 piece, I'm going to make these 5 by 5. Again, I'm going to make it just slightly larger. There's my 5-inch mark, there's my 10-inch, okay? So I'm just going to make it just slightly larger than the 5 inches. Okay. And then I'm going to cut this at 5 inches. Now, one piece is most likely going to be slightly larger than the other. You're going to be fine, okay? But I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to have my finished edge on the top here. Bring that up. And fuse that together. We're not going to care so much about what that tip looks like on the folded edge because that part is going into the zip tie. Okay, so there we are. That's going to be for the left side. Okay, now we're going to have the finished edge on the bottom this time, top left down. It's pretty much the exact same thing, but in miniature form. Okay, and bring that down. Okay, so there we are. We have the finished edge on the left, finished edge on the right. And we're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to grab a couple more 4-inch zip ties. Okay. Yes, we're going to do the exact same thing that we did with the large one. Just pinch and scrunch. Pinch and scrunch. Okay, and sometimes you might want to, like, right where you have the zip tie, just kind of pull that out, just kind of fill that out just a little bit. Okay, and these ones are 3 inches long, whereas these large ones, again, they're 7 inches. So these do come out to be significantly smaller, but it's going to look so sweet. Then we just cut off the tops of the zip ties, and we're going to be ready to put everything on to our form. So we got to make the form yet, and I'll be right back to show you how we do that. Okay, so to make the forms, what I'm going to do, the larger pumpkin is going to be made with this 14-inch frame from Dollar Tree. I just noticed that these are kind of sticking out, I'm going to trim those off with my wire cutters, just so, because I don't want anybody getting hurt on those or scratching themselves or anything like that. So I'm going to trim those off, but I'm going to be using this 14-inch form and this 8-inch wire form. Both of these are from Dollar Tree, okay? I'm going to be using this plastic canvas from Joann Fabrics. I will be showing you a link that is from Amazon. It's the exact same stuff. This is a 5 mesh, not a 7 mesh. The 7 mesh has smaller holes. This has a little bit bigger holes, which makes it easier to fit your zip ties through. Okay, and what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to take my 14-inch and my 8-inch. I'm going to trace a circle right on the inside ring of each of these, okay, and then I'm going to cut that out, okay, and then I will show you. I'm going to attach it with 4-inch zip ties, which I will show you here in just a sec. Okay, so you can see I went ahead and trimmed those off, and I cut this out right, the same diameter as the inside ring of this 14-inch form. When I cut it out, you can see I still have lines, because my thought is I'd much rather cut it just slightly bigger than too small. So I went ahead and did it that way. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to take 4-inch zip ties and attach it to the form, just like so. If you want to turn it over on to the other side, go right on ahead. Okay. See how I have this close to this crossbar? I'm going to go the same way, close to the crossbar. And I'm not going to tighten it completely. So again, I don't have this very tight, so I can move this around. And kind of what I want to do, I want to make sure, like this right here, I want the grid of the plastic canvas to meet up with these crossbars on the side. That way I will be able to have like a straight line. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and use my Sharpie and just go right along this line here, just so I can make sure, okay, yes, that is kind of right where I want to be. So now I'm going to tighten these up. And that's good. That's where I want to be. So I'm going to do the exact same thing with my 8-inch form. Okay, so with this one, none of the crossbars are going to be exactly perfect. So, but what I do know is that I'm going to have this and this kind of lined up. So I want this to go, make sure my lines will be going kind of straight across that way. I know it sounds really crazy. So that means this top one here, this top crossbar on this 8-inch ring, I kind of want to make sure that it's kind of coming straight down for me. on this 14-inch form, I'm going to start making some lines of where I'm going to put the zip ties for my petals, okay? So I want to use this, but I want to go every 2 inches. So what I'm going to use my cutting mat, okay? And then I'm going to use this as my center line. I'm going to go 2 inches down. And then I'm going to go ahead and kind of figure out where my center mark is, going straight up and down. That way I kind of know where my center is, and I have a good gauge of where I want to put my zip ties, all of that, okay? That's just something I like to do. I like to draw lines just so everything kind of turns out the way I want it to, okay? Actually, I'm going to draw one more line. Okay, remember I said I wanted this to kind of go right here? Now let's think about it. We got the bottom of this and the bottom of this are pretty lined up. If we put the crossbar to this, these two crossbars will line up with these crossbars. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to actually attach it right now because that's going to be a little bit difficult to work around. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to try my best to keep this still and just draw this line right here. This is kind of where I want the outside of this ring to kind of come up to, okay? We'll figure this out as I'm going. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but that's kind of what I want, okay? So now we're going to start attaching the petals. I have these petals, okay? Remember, we have some that are on the left-hand side, okay? And then I'll bring these other ones out where the finished edge is on the right-hand side. Okay, so I got a bunch of 8-inch zip ties here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this line as my guide, but I want to go a little bit over and onto the wire form also. And I want to go from the outside in on both sides. And you'll kind of see why I want to do that. Now I'm going to put one just about here, even though, like I showed you, this is where that is going to be coming around. Okay, so I'm going to go up to the next line and I'm going to do 5 along here. Go ahead and put some zip ties where I believe I'm going to need them. Okay, so now I'm going to go, since this should have been 5, I would go 6 across here. Again, I'm probably not going to use these here, which would be 2, so I'm still going to only be doing 4. I think, maybe 5. kind of make sure I'm right in between these. And I think I'm going to go to this third ring, which is just the second ring from the outside. Okay, so I'm trying to think if this is going to be right here. I think we're good. Now I'm going to be going in between here. So I'm going to use plastic canvas and then go around this inner ring. Okay. Then I'm going to be doing the same thing over here. And then I'm going to use this second to the outer ring again. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a zip tie there. Okay, and I just screwed up. I just went right to left. Let's just lift this one up over top of that so we have that finished edge over top of that. And since both of these are unfinished, we're not going to worry about that here in the middle. Okay, so make sure these are all good and tight, and I'm going to cut these off. Okay, so from this point, we have this last line up here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to stick with this second to the outer ring. I'm going to put a petal there. Okay. And you can see it's kind of curving in, okay? And that's fine because we want this to stay kind of rounded. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, so for the next row up, I'm going to just put one peach. And I'm actually going to go ahead and use this crossbar. Okay, you can see I'm going around that second ring from the outside and the crossbar, and I'm kind of doing a little crisscross right here. Okay, so I have some green made the exact same way that I did these, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do 4 right here close together. This one's going to be on that second ring from the outside. And then I'm going to put this one on that third ring from the outside. So it looks like it's coming down just a little bit. Okay, so I have this 15-inch piece of deco mesh. Well, okay, of the green poly burlap. Okay. I cut it at 15 inches. I just used a rotary cutter, okay? But what I'm gonna do, I also have my glue gun here. I am going to fold this So this is now 5 inches, okay? And what I'm gonna do, okay, I'm gonna cut these frays off just to, because they're annoying. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here, just to make sure these frays don't show up here, I'm gonna kind of just fold that over here. I'm going to start to roll this. And then I'm gonna just put a little bit of this hot glue here, very carefully. And then roll it. And that's why I have this cardboard down, because that glue is probably gonna come through. In fact, it did. Okay, we don't want that glue coming onto our cutting mat. So just keep rolling. And I'll just add another dab of glue, just so this stays in place. Now we're getting to this end here, and I don't want any of that fray showing. So I'm gonna kind of roll that in after I cut these off. Let's just roll that in. Kind of get that to meet this side. Okay. And let's get some glue in there and really get it to kind of hold together. And we'll try to make sure that that is towards the back whenever we put it on top of our wreath. And if you want to double secure it, you know what you can do? Just take a 4-inch zip tie, kind of zip tie that along the top, which that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. You know, just kind of take it through that, through the mesh there, and through this side of the mesh. No, this isn't pretty. But guess what? It works. I'm going to just do it a few times going down through here. Now, what I'm going to be doing here, you can see between that outside and the second ring, I'm going to kind of shove this down in there. Again, let's make sure the zip ties are right there in the very back. Okay. See how that's shoved in there? I got it coming out the back here. I want to take another zip tie and secure it to that third ring. Okay. I'm going to do this from the back. There we go. Okay, I'm going to pull this down just a little bit more. And tighten that up. Okay. Okay, so I know there's no way I have enough petals made, but I'm going to start on this smaller pumpkin. I actually fixed where my center line is going to be, okay? And now I am going to make this very bottom, this inner ring is going to be the bottom row. So I'm going to go 1 inch on the very bottom. We're going to do pretty much the same thing. I'm going to grab 6-inch zip ties for this. I think 8 inches is going to be too much. 4 inches probably not long enough. So I'm switching to 6-inch. So yes, I keep all 3 size zip ties on hand, just on whatever project I'm working on. It just, I don't know, just makes it easier on me. Okay. So, okay, so here I go. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do 4 across again. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go around the center here. The next row up, so that we can do 5 going across. Okay, so we're going to try to do 6 going across on this next row up. Okay, so I made some more petals. I took a little break, got energized once again. So here I am. I'm only halfway through with this small one. So what I'm going to do, yeah, let's push this down so it's a little bit closer to in line here. I am going to now do 7 across. Okay, so I'm going to go back to 6 going across. Okay, so I have my last row up here of that's going to be the blue, and then I'm going to go up to the leaves. So from here, I'm going to do 1 more blue, and then I'm going to do my leaves and my stem. Okay, and so for the leaves, I'm going to go 1 on each side on that second ring from the outside, and then I'm going to do 1 right here. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing I did with the larger pumpkin, but I'm only going to cut this at 10 inches. Okay, because this is going to be a smaller, it's going to be a smaller stem because it's a smaller pumpkin. I think 5 inches is going to be a little bit too tall. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go kind of in this way and kind of fold this down. That's going to make it about 4 inches. Okay. I'm going to grab just my piece of cardboard. Again, I just don't want to get any glue on there onto my cutting mat. But I'm just going to start rolling. And I'm going to make one side kind of, let's just go ahead and make this side be, that's going to be our top. So we want to make sure none of this fray or anything like that kind of shows through. Okay. And then I'm just going to start rolling. Add a little bit of glue. And roll some more. I'm going to curl this in. Put a dab of glue on here. Yeah, with some 4-inch zip ties, I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is good and tight. Kind of go through that mesh just like I did before. Okay. You can see I went through just a couple pieces, couple, I don't know, squares of that poly burlap on here and here. Okay, and the same thing here. Okay, so I have my stem, and you know what? I'm just going to kind of shove the leaves, or this one leaf that's on this second ring from the outside, shove it a little bit more over to the side. And then I'm going to stick this right in here. Okay. I'm going to show you from the back. I'm going to just kind of go right around that crossbar, around the stem. Okay. Kind of at an angle, so it's kind of on the crossbar and on this second ring from the outside. Okay, I'll show you from the front kind of. So around the crossbar there and around this second ring. And then just tighten it up. Okay. And so now it kind of goes a little bit to the side, so it's not, yeah, we don't want perfect, we want cute, right? Okay guys, so I'm at this point where I'm going to attach the blue pumpkin to the peach one. The peach isn't too bad, but this blue looks like a berry, right? It just looks like a berry. It does not look like a pumpkin. So I'm gonna fix this. I just want to make it a little bit flatter on the bottom, okay? And all I'm going to do, and I'll show you here in a second, I'm going to just take out that bottom row that I put on there. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you too much. But yeah, I just don't like the way it looks, and I think we got to do something to fix it. So I'm going to fix this real quick. I'll show you how, and then we're going to attach it. Okay? I'm sure most of you will agree with me. This is kind of too pointy at the bottom, too, just too much. It looks too much like a berry. So I'm going to go ahead and take this bottom row completely off. And that is these on either side and these here. Okay, and I'm going to see what this looks like. I'm going to try to get them out gently without ruining the ones that are still in there. Okay, and I'm going to cut these frays. Yes, these ones that we made with the 5x5, there is a larger tendency to fray, even though we use a wood burning tool. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think that looks much better. I'm going to go from the back. Okay. And I'm going to take these 4 off. Actually, you know what? I'm only going to take these 2 off. These 2, I'm just going to slide up. Okay. They'll be fine. Let's slide them up. So one's right underneath the other. I'm going to take these 2 off. Let's get these zip ties that I cut. And I'm going to take 2 more 6-inch zip ties. And you know what? We can do this from the back. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of slide one up here. Okay. Let's kind of get that all the way up, as high up as we can. So it's kind of almost in between these 2. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. And I'm just going to keep feeling around until I know that I can feel the zip tie that's already on the petal, and kind of make sure that this zip tie is just underneath it. And then secure it. Okay. So when we turn that over, that has a little bit more of a flatter look to it. It's a little bit higher. Okay, I think I'm liking that a little bit better. Okay, so now you see Sometimes we gotta fix things after the fact. I didn't want to completely tear this apart. So this is just how I fixed it without tearing it completely apart. It actually looks pretty decent. We're going to be attaching this small pumpkin wreath to the large one. And I'm gonna take my zip tie and I'm gonna go through right next to the stem, okay? Now I'm gonna hold the zip tie with my thumb because we gotta make sure it doesn't go through, right? And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go from the back where this crossbar is, gonna kind of get that zip tie to come up through, okay? I'm being very careful not to lose the zip tie from the back. Go through this mesh. Yeah, we have to go through the mesh here. Okay, I'm going to turn this back over. Okay, and we're going to go back through the zip tie and zip tie like right around that stem. Okay. Make sure it's right where I want it. And okay. So we got that part secured. Now I just got to secure the bottom. And I want that bottom to be secured. You can see that outer ring will come to just about right there. So I'm going to do the same thing. Of course, we're not going to go through the mesh of the small pumpkin. So we're going to go right next to the crossbar of this small pumpkin. Okay. And right there at the crossbar of the large pumpkin. So I'm going to get this to go up through. Up through that mesh. I don't want to go all the way to that second ring. I don't think that's going to work. That's going to make the pumpkin a little too crisp. Okay, so you can see I have it right there. I'm securing it like that. Okay. Okay, and that's pretty secure. Now, I'm just going to, because we were messing around with it, tossing it back and forth and stuff, kind of got a couple frays going. Just cut them off and you'll be fine. Okay, so this is our finished pumpkins. And I say pumpkins, but I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I was going to scrap it because I was just not happy with it. I thought, oh, this isn't gonna work. But something in me told me to keep going, and I did. I made the changes that I thought needed to be made without tearing it apart. So hopefully I didn't confuse you too much, but I love how it turned out. I love that I got rid of that bottom so it didn't look so much like a berry and it looked more like a pumpkin. So that looks so much better. And you know what? We could always put some ribbon, a nice bow on both of these. It really doesn't need it, but if you wanted to put a bow on there, go ahead. I mean, make this your own. Do different colors, whatever you want to do. But having two pumpkins on the same wreath, I think that is something very different, something nobody else is doing, right? And that's what we want. So there you go. Tell me what you think. I'm so glad I didn't scrap this idea. My name is Patty Davis. I'm with Crooked Tree Creations, and I'll see you in our next video.